Finally, I want to talk about these negotiations that have taken place between the US and Iran. Those talks have been held in Geneva. The reports coming out of Geneva is that progress has been made, but there is still a lot to discuss. This is what the president had to say ahead of those talks.
Expecting from these Iran talks in Geneva tomorrow.
So I'll be involved in those talks indirectly, and they'll be very important, and we'll see what can happen. It's been typically, Iran's a very tough negotiator. They're good negotiators, or bad negotiators. I would say they're bad negotiators, because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. They want to make a deal.
Have you been told that a deal is next to impossible?
No, I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
We've also heard from President Trump just in the last few days that regime change would be the best thing to happen. So it seems as though it's a matter of when, not if, that US attacks Iran. What's your sense of where things are at?
Yeah, there's a reason why there's two carrier groups right now floating around Iran. Iran knows that President Trump's not all about talk, just like the last 20 years of other presidents said, well, we're not going to take anything off the table. Yeah, you did. You were never considering any kind of action against Iran in terms of kinetic action. But the president decided, hey, we're going to show that to be something we can use. And they did use it. And that's why Iran is back at the table. You know, in the negotiation they're having now, look, do I think it's going to come to fruition? Probably not. But I'll tell you one thing, that they're focusing not just on their nuclear issue, right, which everybody else talked about, but focusing on things that other presidents did not, particularly Barack Obama and Joe Biden, their ballistic capability, their continuing funding of militant organizations around the world. Yeah, I've said it before a million times, it bears repeating. The Iranian regime falling will be one of the most consequential foreign policy achievements since the fall of the Soviet Union, and that's not hyperbole. That is actual fact and truth, okay? And Obama's failure on the GCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which, by the way, you have to be smoking a joint, some California kush to have signed that, because it was an awful, absolutely awful deal, was one of the hallmarks of foreign policy failures of Barack Obama, which Donald Trump got us out of quickly. You know, one quick story. You know, I remember when I was there doing the negotiation of the JCPOA, first of all, the U.S. negotiators and the Iran negotiators were staying in a $1,200 a night hotel. That says a lot about our taxpayer dollars and even the Iranian taxpayer dollars. I stayed at the Marriott 100 yards away for $250 a night. But when I spoke with the U.S. negotiators, and it shows how different times have, you know, what the changes have been since then and now, I remember talking to them over drinks and saying, well, okay, I know you're trying to negotiate, and there's a different approach to how I would deal with this issue, but we do both agree that Iran is trying to build a nuclear weapon. They laughed at me. They said, you're so naive. We're experts. Of course we don't know that. We're not certain of that. And that's what led to that disastrous agreement, the JCPOA. So yeah, I'm all for it. I love what Trump is doing. And hopefully we're going to see a new regime in Iran in the near future.
Well, we're watching it all very closely. Ami Horowitz, filmmaker, thank you so much for your time. Great to speak with you.
Always a pleasure.